It's that time of year again. It's the Steam Next Fest, a quarter-annual showcase of a metric ton of indie games coming out soon in demo form. This time we're going to be doing things a little different. This video is going to be the main repository for all the stuff that caught my eye today after my initial dive in to see what is there. From there, I'm going to be releasing shorts on each demo if there's anything in particular that catches your eye from what I'm talking about. If you want to see those, be sure to subscribe and have notifications turned on. This is your reminder to turn on those notifications if you are subscribed. So that way you can see all my videos. Ain't that right, Randy? That's a good 10-4, boss! There's some neat shit in here, so let's get things started nice and brightly.
Prepare for takeoff. 3, 2, 1, go!
This is one that me and my brother have been keeping an eye on since we both found out about it on Twitter God knows how long ago. Aero GPX is a loving homage slash spiritual successor to the largely forgotten but still fondly remembered F-Zero series of Zero-G racing games. You know, that series that Captain Falcon was in but was ultimately first introduced to by way of Super Smash Bros. If you're a kid in the late 90s. I never played those, and when I saw this in action I went, yo, this looks sick. I then loaded it up, and as you can tell from this footage, I'm fucking terrible! So after that display, I decided to load up into a training track and got a handle on the controls. Even without a tutorial at the time of writing, this feels very intuitive to just pick up. Turning and boosting feels great, and the use of the left and right triggers to stray from side to side is a neat trick. Mix that with the turning, and you can probably get some sick initial D-style drifting going. You got 10 racers and 5 tracks in here, as well as 5 race circuits and single races on top of training mode. Mix those together and baby, you got a solid racing game in the works. Always a good sign when I see a notification like this on screen.
So when I held the agent's gun in my hands, as the last member of the squad begged for his life in the stupidest way possible.
We're on the same fucking team!
I didn't feel a thing. I'm what the COI made me. And I'm not going back.
Holy shit, that was a hell of an introduction! Developed by Strange Scaffold, I Am Your Beast is a short-form, covert thriller revenge FPS against the military-industrial complex. You play as Alphonse Harding, a former member of the Covert Operations Initiative who left the entire thing behind and when he's found out decides to go full-on Archer Rampage mode. Based on the dialogue and the tape conversations that play out, this whole thing immediately smacked me with the vibes of both John Wick and Metal Gear Solid, if Solid Snake stuck to being a hermit in Alaska after Metal Gear 2 and went on a rampage instead of helping out a Shadow Moses when Colonel Campo asked him to. The gameplay works out like a Hotline Miami or Bullet Matt Jack, where you kill dudes as fast as possible for a good enough rank. I played through the same mission 3 times just to get an A rank. After that, I immediately put it on my wishlist on Steam. That gameplay loop of using limited weapons and improvising when the plan goes wrong is like cocaine to me, so hook it into my veins! I ain't sleeping on this one because holy shit, that was awesome. Okay, this one's gonna be a bit different. As we all know, the First World War was incredibly fucked up. From the circumstances leading up to it, to the horrific battles of attrition, to the gruesome details of trench warfare. There's a lot there that can fill a person with existential dread and feelings as though man is the greatest monster of all. It's also proven to be a surprisingly good fodder for both horror games or games that are horror adjacent. Amnesia the Bunker is the best example off the top of my head, but there's also the boomer shooter Forgive Me Father 2, using its player character's background as a veteran of the Great War to inform its cosmic horror trappings. And adding to that list today would be Conscript by Australian solo developer Jordan Mochi. Conscript is a top-down Resident Evil-style survival horror game set during the Battle of Verdun, the longest battle in the First World War. You play as a French soldier who's looking for his missing-in-action brother and doing his best to survive the battle in the process. The first thing I noticed when loading this up is that, aside from some controller support issues, is that Conscript is probably my favorite approximation or attempted recreation of tank controls I've ever seen. It recreates the run, stop, shoot, loot, run gameplay loop of early Resident Evil to near perfection. You have keys and locks that need to be matched up from the look of it, and the map is the most Resident Evil looking ass map I've seen not in a Resident Evil game. The combat is also in the survival horror vein of spend your resources wisely by running away from enemies you can't kill right now, which I clearly don't do here, but I will admit that I didn't feel the resource strain on the default difficulty. But the atmosphere is the real star of the show. It's dark, it's dirty, it's thoroughly hopeless, and while I was half expecting some kind of fucked up monster to come out at me, all I saw were German soldiers desperately fighting for their own survival. But it's kill or be killed, and I wasn't planning on dying today. That was an incredibly fucked up way of saying that the atmosphere is top tier and Conscript's demo got me super interested in the final product. Adding this one to the wish list for sure. And to close things out, we're gonna get a little furry. This is Tales of Iron 2, Whiskers of Winter. It's the sequel to Tales of Iron, both developed by Oddbug Studio. The defining features of this demo are both the presentation and the gameplay structure. So let's start with how this thing looks and sounds. Tales of Iron 2 is presented like an old-time storybook, albeit a bit more dark and gritty. It gives off big red wall energy if you've ever read those books or watched TV shows, though that might be a Canada-only thing. And it has a narrator. Give him a listen.
In the north, they thought they knew all there was to know of war. Until the War of the Rift. While the Southern King hid, warm in his keep, the Darkwings cut their bloody trail from frozen north to winter's edge. Alone, the Warden and his small garrison turned their whiskers to the icy wind. At the end of hope, in a last barrage, they wiped Batkind from the land and memory. With no sign of the Darkwing's return, in time, few believed them little more than a fairy's tale. But at Mount Cauldron, time had been all they needed. An old enemy claws free of their icy tomb and hungers for vengeance. But not all is lost. King Rattus brings north a cause for hope. A bastard prince, placed in the paws of the Warden of the Wastes to raise as his own. A secret of blood never to be told. Now, fate calls for a hero in a murderous screech. And one young rat will answer.
Yep. That's Doug Cockle, aka Geralt of Rivia from the Witcher games. His scratchy, gravelly voice lends a lot of gravitas to the proceedings, especially when the story kicks into full doomed hometown mode, with the bats showing up, destroying your home, and killing your father. From there, you as Arlo need to go out there and have yourself a good old-fashioned revenge rampage. A lot of the gameplay is structured like a mix of Dark Souls and Monster Hunter based on the stuff in the demo. You can gather a lot of components for crafting off of slain foes, and you have a weighty combat system that focuses on blocking, parrying, and dodge rolling. The one thing I wasn't expecting was how hard this was. I got to the main boss of the demo and it just kept kicking my ass. Not through any fault of the demo's own, mind you, but because I needed to get good. And considering how easy it is to screw up the difficulty curve on games that take inspiration from Dark Souls, that's a great feeling to have. If it can nail the exploration aspect of it, then we are in for a treat with this one. Definitely keeping an eye on it. And with that, the showcasing of my standouts for the June 2024 Steam Next Fest is complete. Be sure to look out for the shorts on each of these games covered over the week. And if you've made it this far, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps the channel out a lot. Doesn't it, Randy? Sure does, boss! We'll be back to the regular schedule at Chicanery next week. Thank you very much for watching. Love you, bye.